Warning. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of the HHN-TV or its constituent entities. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody. I'm Drew Duncan, and we are live. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I'm wherever you're listening to podcasts. Take a device to play Underground Sports by Drew Duncan. Guys, I'm not a needle in a haystack, man. I'm really easy to find. You Google me, I'm going to pop right up, pimpin'. Plenty to get to today. We're going to be talking about Tua. He's on IR for at least 4 games. We're going to be talking about Tennessee. They are increasing ticket prices. They are calling it help for NIL. What the hell ever, man. And we're going to be talking about Arkansas. Their athletic director says that they need to make $12 million more to be able to compete. We're going to be talking about Mike Tomlin, what he had to say about the petty game ball. Wake Forest, they've canceled the 2025 game with Ole Miss. Peyton Manning says RPOs weren't a thing in his day. We're going to be talking about Joe Klatt, his top 5. Plenty to get to today. So Joe Klatt says that his top 5 contenders are USC, Nebraska, Utah, Ohio State, and Miami. Look, first of all, we're not even through September. I understand it's their job. I know that this guy's a full-time college dude. He's got to find content. That's cool, man. But no. Let's talk about USC. I mean, come on, man. Lincoln Riley. Losing record against teams that are ranked. Let's not forget how that season ended last year when you had Caleb Williams. What about when Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy? How'd that year end? Stop the cap. Look, I'm really just – Lincoln Riley is another one of these overrated coaches that I don't even know how the hell they really even get their name. Can we get a coach that can win a national championship first before you start giving him a name? The debacles in the Big 12, the debacles in the college football playoff, just forget about it. I don't want to hear it. USC is not there yet. You're in the Big 10. They're physical. We don't know what's going to happen with Illinois just yet. Obviously, we're going to see how Illinois looks coming up this Friday, right? So we'll be getting into that as the week goes on. But then you got Nebraska over there who he says he thinks is going to do really good. Again, you still got Illinois. You still got potentially Michigan. You still have potentially Ohio State, who was another favorite of Joe Klatt's. And I'm thinking to myself, you're just like this team, and this team. Because Ohio State hasn't even got by Michigan in the last couple of years. And I don't want to hear about the scandal. I don't want to hear about none of that stuff. The fact of the matter is they've lost. We're still talking about treading water that is very familiar to Ohio State fans with another football coach that was very similar to Ryan Day. Couldn't win the big game against Michigan. Couldn't win in bowl games. Let's just slow it down, okay? They've got a new quarterback still. And by the way, their wins so far are against Akron, Western Michigan, and they've got Marshall coming up. We have no idea, all right? Let's just pump the brakes and wait. Can we at least get into conference play, man? Utah, has anybody seen them play? Has anybody seen them play without Cam Rising? Look, I can appreciate people being geeked up on Cap Rising, and that's fine. He's a pretty solid quarterback. But, and I do mean but, I have seen this team play without him. They are lethargic at best. There are other ways to describe them, but I'm a nice fucking guy, all right? So we're not going to go there. What I'm telling you is if Utah makes it out, ooh, whoop-de-doo, they made it out of the Big 12. What, Kansas State? They're not going to do anything. With Colorado, they're not going to do anything. BYU's not going to do anything spectacular. Just stop. Stop it. We're done with that conversation of the Big 12. Whoever comes out of there is not going to win a college football playoff game. It's not going to happen. If you think that there's anybody in the Big 12 that is a legitimate contender to win a national championship this season, then I have some beachfront property that I would love to sell you that's in the middle of Arizona, Broham. There's another piece that I've got that's beachfront. It's right up there in North Dakota. Great property. You'll love it. It's going for $5 million right now. Can't wait to talk to you about it. Get out of here. Miami, look, I like Miami so far. To me, they're the most complete team so far that I've seen in college football. But I'm not willing to bet the farm on them right now either. You could talk about the strength of the ACC, okay, but let's not forget that these coaches are around each other and they have each other scouted a lot of times. And so because they have each other scouted, even some of the really good teams can lose games that they're not supposed to because of matchup problems, scouting, all that stuff. I know you better than anybody else does. I'm just willing to wait. At least 10 teams that were ranked either in the preseason or in the initial polls have all lost a game. Over 5 aren't even in the top 25 anymore. Florida State still hasn't won a game of football. Can we quit it? We're not even through September, people. Just stop. Get over it. It's not going to happen. Maybe it will. Here's the thing. We don't know. The one thing in life, the one guarantee is that there are no guarantees. Except for Big 12. That's a guarantee. Don't hate me. Look, Tennessee's adding a 10% upcharge. They're calling it a talent fee on their tickets. Old boys said it was because they want to continue to be competitive and dominant. If being dominant is the last championship you won is in 1998, Broham, then, oh, yeah, you're Alabama. All right. I think the Lady Vols, they the last time they won a championship, now they were on top for a while. Don't get me wrong. Tennessee Lady Vols were on top for a while, but I think the last one they won was in 2008, if I remember correctly. So it's been a while since Tennessee's done anything that's of relevance. So let's pump the brakes. Let's stop talking about being dominant, because all you're doing is you're tugging on the heartstrings of your little SEC cronies that you know we're going to foot the bill for you. Here we go. The rich telling us, hey, man, we need you to go ahead and foot the bill for us. All right, thanks, Rock and Oprah. What, are you kidding me right now? Stop the cap, bro. And by the way, Tennessee, on their own website, they are bragging about a 95% increase in cash donations in the year 2023 from $37 million to $72 million. Now, you're bragging about that, and then you're telling us, by the way, in order to be competitive, we still need to get more money from NIL from you guys, though. We don't need to go to boosters for this. No, there's not somebody out there with a big enough paycheck, bro. We don't need to go to local venues. We don't need to go to local markets. We don't need to go to car dealerships. We don't need to do any of that. What we need to do is reach out to you, common fan. You all have the ticket to our success in your hand. What a bunch of BS. I mean, come on. He can't be serious, right? No, unfortunately, he is. The same way Oklahoma State was serious when here you go, man. You're in the middle of a football game. Just roll right up on your favorite player and put the QR code right on him. You know, it's so disgusting. Does anybody remember when Aaron, right after he left Green Bay, wanted to start an IMBD for athletes? And instead of going to his other rich athletic buddies, and instead of putting up his own money, he said, hey, common American, can I get $100 from you, bro, so that way I can start this IMBD for athletes? And then also, by the way, I'm going to need you guys to keep paying on this thing because I need you to be the ones to keep it going because you're all rock stars. all those Green Bay Packer fans who really believe that they have true ownership in that football team, that is the biggest finesse of all time. You know, taxpayer money is already funding the stadiums. It's already funding professional athletes. It's already doing that. What more do you need? We are struggling. We are working 2 and 3 jobs. We are not ever home. We are not seeing our kids. We don't have a lot of food in the fridge. We are dealing with inflation. And you want more money for a talent fee. What in the actual is a talent fee anyway? What are you, an agent? You're not an agent. You're not facilitating anything. It's literally the responsibility. See, this is why I actually agree with the NIL. Because for the longest time, universities like Tennessee were letting Phil Fulmer roll up in Benzes and all these just ridiculous contracts. Meanwhile, their players were starving to death. But now what you're doing is you're taking advantage of the opportunity to put it in the hands of somebody else. You literally just made $72 million off of donations alone. You literally were just a part of $54 million that was trickled down to you from Alabama being in the college football playoff. Stop it. When in the absolute hell is this going to end? And look, person who hates the NIL, do not blame the players for what is going on right now. Number one, if the NCAA had done the right thing a long time ago, none of this would be an issue. None of it. Secondly, it is not the fault of the players for wanting a piece of the revenue. It is not a fault of the player who is putting in all the work and doing all the heavy lifting and then being told, hey, bro, your room and board is just good enough. Yeah, voucher for $25 on Sunday. You think that feeds an offensive lineman that weighs 340 pounds? Are you kidding me right now? But yeah, you know, that $25 voucher, that works. Where's he going to go to eat at, man? He's going to have to sit all day at an all-you-can-eat buffet, Broham. Are you kidding me right now? Stop the cap. They are just looking for excuses to not have to foot the bill themselves so that way they can line their own damn pockets. But this is why the rich stay rich, because people will do it. The rich stay rich because they can walk into a restaurant, and as long as they can get their picture snapped and somebody go, yeah, I ate here, then their meal is free. You know, like there's this small-ass little restaurant that's in a small little town out in Kansas, and Brock Lesnar happened to stop and eat there one time, little Italian joint. It tasted like Pizza Hut. It was like cat food. They were like, Brock Lesnar ate here. Look, that's his picture on the wall. He ate here. He ate there because, A, there was nowhere else to go, and B, never said the food was really that amazing to anybody that's, you know, gonna – you see what I'm saying here? He's doing you a favor. That food was gross. But he didn't have to pay for it, so what does he give a damn? I wouldn't pay for that damn meal either. Look, the point of what I'm saying is this is not on the athlete for wanting a better life for themselves, for trying to make some money while everybody else is getting paid. Everybody else is making the money, but they're being told, no, you can't sign a contract. Literally, they were making 18-year-olds sign a contract saying that you're not lawfully able to sign a contract. Oh, my God. Look, Tennessee and everybody else can stop the cap. And I implore you fans to not give in. Regular donations or whatever, that's one thing. But the ticket sales, to hell with it, bro. If I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm not buying another ticket. I am sending a message by telling them, dude, you can't expect me to pay for what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to create the funds. You're supposed to get the recruiters. You're supposed to talk to the dealerships. You're supposed to talk to the agents. This is not on us. Do your fucking job. I mean, come on, man. You've got Arkansas right now saying we need at least another $12 million to start raking in enough money to get players here. Aren't you considered a blue blood, basically? Are you not in the SEC? Were you not just a part of the same 50+ million that I just talked about with Tennessee and Bama? And are you not like, you didn't get that? They left you out? Gosh. Woo. Sorry, I didn't mean to Ric Flair that one. Stop it. I need everybody to quit right now. This is trickle up, economics 101. You think you're trickling it down to something that is a real important thing. You're not. You're trickling it up. You're lining their pockets. We'll see how much. They can claim the percentage is all they really want to. People start looking around. Quit it. You are responsible. You are the university that has been making millions of dollars for years. You have the capability somewhere. You just don't want to spend it. And I don't want to hear about new libraries. I don't want to hear about none of that. If you've got money for renovations, if you've got money for training facilities, if you've got money for everything else, then you've got money for libraries. Please do not pretend like this is about education, because it has never been about education. It has been about the bottom dollar. And the way to get to the bottom dollar is by winning. So do your job and win the games, and the money will be there, because you will then have the sponsorships. You will have the TV deals. You will have the revenue shares. Stop, man. The SEC network and the deal they got with Disney right now. Are you kidding me? Well, ESPN. Oh, my gosh. No, I will always be in favor of the common. Always in favor of the common man. Just so we're clear. Athletic directors, I want more money. Get the fuck out of Dodge, man. Really quick here, last thing on college football. It's funny seeing Lane Kiffin pissed. It's just the damnedest thing, man. Look, Wake Forest backing out. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the beatdown that they just took. Okay, from Ole Miss. Who the hell really knows? What we do know is that they are, quote, looking at alternatives. Scheduling is a thing, right, in college football, because let's keep it a buck. You have some teams that are at least out there playing other teams that are supposed to be good to start the season. Regardless of how it all turns out, at least they're supposed to be good. Yeah, Notre Dame played Texas A&M. Rest of the schedule soft as baby, but that's okay. At least they had the game against A&M. Okay. USC played a big out-of-conference game to start the year. But then you've got the Ohio States of the world, and they're playing Western Michigan. They're playing Akron. They're playing Marshall. Look, it is what it is. And they bought it out, so they were willing to spend the money. For whatever reason, they're not seeing it as it being in their favor. Now, to me, look, when it comes to recruiting, and recruiting is more about the transfer portal now than it is the initial recruits coming there, depending on who they schedule in favor, in lieu or instead, whatever you want to call it, of Ole Miss, it could be a really good look or it could be a really bad look. Because if you're going to go from Ole Miss to somebody else, you got to go against somebody that's going to be at least deemed as being competitive. Because Ole Miss, obviously, SEC football team, formerly the SEC West. At the time, what I said was the best subdivision in all of college football was the SEC West. I mean, that was a point-blank situation. Now, my feelings about how they got there and all that stuff, that's a separate issue. But the point of what I'm saying is they were the best. Now, here's the reality. If you're going to back out of that, you can't around and decide that we're going to schedule Louisiana Tech, Southeast Louisiana, an FCS team. None of that. You are going to have to put in another team that people are going to look at that and they're going to go, okay, at least that looks like a good game. It looks like if you win that game, it'll serve you right because 8 or 9 wins, right? But now there's potentially going to be a shift. Let's not forget this aspect that some teams are basically just going to try and survive. Okay, let's play our little out-of-conference games. Doesn't matter how they necessarily look. Sure, we probably want some seeding. Love to get the bye week from winning the conference championship. But as long as we can just survive, 10-2, 11-1, we played in the conference championship game. We were regular season runners-up. Whatever the case may be, that's going to hold some water. We're good. We're going to get in the playoffs. We'll be able to take things from there. We're just going to have to face the fact that there's going to be that aspect to it. But if I'm being honest with you, to me, that's going to help out the non-power conferences because if they start winning football games, which is a good possibility, it's only going to help their recruiting, especially in the transfer portal. Because that's going to bring more donations, bigger boosters, and it's going to go their way. So this is risk reward. It really is. At the end of the day, the risk is simply this. You schedule it. You get a softer team in there. People look at it and they go, man, I don't want to be a part of this. The reward is regardless of who you schedule, A team or B team, you're able to finesse some guys, get them over there, you survive everything, you're able to move on. Now, I can appreciate where Lane Kiffin is coming from. Look, it's not about really how it looks to the SEC to me more than it does Wake Forest. I think Lane Kiffin, his being upset is more about we are trying to schedule Power 4 programs. We are trying to do it so that way we keep our guys focused. We keep our guys in the loop of good competition. We keep our guys in the forefront of everybody's conversations about really good football teams. We continue to build the rapport with the College Football Playoff Committee. We look good to them by winning these games. Is Wake Forest necessarily the creme de la creme of the ACC? No, but you could still do a little bit worse. I mean, Georgia Tech, how many losing seasons have they had since 2015? 6. So you could schedule worse. You could schedule better, but you could schedule worse. The point of what I'm saying is I think that's his issue. I think Lane Kiffin deep down would rather play against somebody that he thinks is at least good competition to truly fill that void. Now you got to run around and you got to schedule something out. You got to schedule another home and home. And look, I could see where he's coming from. We made a deal. We played there. You play in our backyard. You don't like this ass whooping we just gave you in your backyard? You're not man enough to handle it? Hey, look, man, I could see where he's coming from. I'm not the biggest fan of Lane Kiffin, but I see where he's coming from, and I don't really have a problem with it. If I were him, I would feel the exact same way. Don't back out now. That ain't cool. What's the matter with you? Come on. So Tua's going to be on an IR for the next at least 4 games. Look, he's supposed to be meeting with doctors and physicians. They're going to be discussing his future in the NFL. Look, I want to reiterate something, okay? And I need you to understand that the first part of this is not to brag, okay? I did an award-winning piece on television. It was about concussion CTE. And initially, I really wanted to prove the antithesis because there was so much out there at that time about concussions in football. And, you know, I was trying to explain to people that there are other sports out there that are higher in concussions. Women's soccer was one. Women's hockey was one. Regular hockey was another one that were at the time, those all produce more concussions than football, okay? And the more I got into it, the more I realized, you know, I got to maintain journalistic integrity. And I was very fortunate, and I got to interview Dr. Rausch, who at this time had 20 years of experience in sports medicine. So as long as it's been, now it's over 30 years. One of the things that he talked to me about with concussion, CTE, and really any injury in general is the accumulative effect. So the accumulative effect is the long-term effects, re-aggravating, re-injuring, whatever it is, getting the same type of injury over and over again. He said, look, I'm never really concerned about an initial injury for the most part, but I am always concerned about, hey, look, you're re-injuring something. That's when I would get a little like, hey, man, maybe you need to start thinking about doing something else with your life. Now, something else to point out here is he did tell me, and I want to make this clear, is that he never suffered a major injury playing football. He played college football for 2 years, in addition to, obviously playing up from Pee Wee and all that. And he said he didn't think it was inevitable that you ever will. So I want to be clear, and I stand by that. I don't think it's inevitable that anybody suffers or everybody suffers a life-threatening injury. Now, obviously, we've seen some things happen on the field. We've seen it happen with the Buffalo Bills, 9.5 minutes. My goodness, thank God he was okay, literally. We've seen all of this happen, okay? Tua's injuries are vicious in nature. Vicious. And the way that his fingers are being folded, to me, it looks like every single time there's a disconnect with the membrane. It's a dangerous territory to be in. I mean, does anybody remember, what was it, Javid Best when he was in Detroit? We all saw that happen, right? When he went to the end zone and he landed and then just, no, look, I'm never going to tell somebody what to do. But given the conversations that I've had with other physicians, especially Dr. Rausch, I would take into account the accumulative effect. Teddy Bridgewater just came out and talked about why he was retiring. The concussions, the injuries, everything was mounting up. And he said he had to realize and learn that he's not just Teddy Bridgewater, the football player. He's Teddy Bridgewater, the person, the human, the man. I mean, come on. Who wants to sit in front of their kids the rest of their lives drooling? I know that people are making fun of it right now with that Any Given Sunday clip, and I can appreciate the humor behind it. But at some point, you have to realize if your life is in danger, then it's time to walk away from whatever is bringing your life that danger. Football is a very violent sport. We all know this. We know that injuries are pretty much inevitable. I mean, geez, I just talked about it yesterday. I was like, look, whatever your favorite football team is, somebody's hurt right now. Cooper Kupp's out. A.J. Brown's out. Debo is out. McCaffrey is out. There's a laundry list of players that are out. Tua is on IR for the next 4 weeks. Folks, the fact that this is happening, it should be a warning sign. At least for him. And look, I can appreciate where people are coming from, right? Come on, boxers, da-da-da-da-da. First of all, we're talking about two different sports. Secondly, boxing, trauma-wise, brain trauma, is literally the worst of all combat sports. I have talked to umpteen fighters about this. I have talked to umpteen promoters about this. I have talked to umpteen doctors about this. The 10-ounce gloves, the 12-ounce gloves, they're not doing anybody any favors. They're protecting the wrist, but they are not protecting the other individual who is getting clapped. So that's first and foremost. I know that a lot of people talk about brain trauma and how football doesn't need to exist anymore and the rule changes. The other side with the rule changes and how much they hate them and all that stuff. Look, we haven't had a full generation go by yet to know whether or not any of these rule changes have actually done anything to help anybody out. What we have to do is evaluate everything on an individual level in a case-by-case basis. In the case of Tua, when you see the way that his body responds to brain-related injuries, understand it does not look to me like his body is equipped. And when you have people whose entire lives are dedicated to sports, whether they are coaches, journalists, whatever, fans, people who used to play, people who want to play, and they are telling you, bro, it's time to go, you are going to permanently injure yourself. The accumulative effect, long-term effects, re-aggravating, re-injury, the same injury over and over again. Troy Aikman discussed retiring because of all the concussions that he suffered while he was playing football. At some point, you got to know when to, fight or hit the fence. To be honest with you, I think Tua's got to know it's time to hit the fence. I'm just knowing everything that I've seen about concussions. There's plenty of misinformation out there. Do not get me wrong. And I got news for everybody. If football were to stop tomorrow alone, just football, you want to see an economy crash. We're not just talking about athletes, guys. Okay, we are talking about coaches, assistant coaches, team doctors, team trainers, scouts, journalists, photographers, broadcast journalists, radio journalists, beat writers. We are literally talking about hundreds of thousands of people being out of a job all at one time. Every high school football team across the United States, every middle school football team across the United States. We are talking about a lot of people being out of work. Now, am I saying that to justify the violence of sports? No. What I am saying is, by and large, there are still numbers out there that show that concussions are not the rate at what people continuously try to prove that they are. What I am saying to you is, individual, case by case, Tua should go. And the NFL should absolutely step up and take care of him. And this should be the beginning of the NFL and the NFLPA stepping up and making sure that all players in Tua's situation are taken care of. Now, that should be a bottom line scenario. So Mike Tomlin, he didn't want to talk about the petty game ball. So, and it was kind of funny watching the interview because he's like, I don't care how it leaked or who leaked it, whether it was a certain somebody. I'm just watching. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's definitely throwing shade at Justin Fields. Like, bro, you really shouldn't have done that. Then he was asked about it. Hey, is that like a normal thing for you guys? Are you really giving out petty game balls? What the hell? He just said, look, man, that's not for everybody to know. That's between me, my guys, boom. Folks, that's locker room culture. All the stuff that I've been saying about primetime and building the locker room culture, that's that right there. Locker room culture, and you don't want it exposed. And any guy who's ever been in any locker room, I don't care if it's as simple as just being in a gym. It is a place where there's a lot of unspoken that gets said, a lot of unspoken that gets, you leave it there, man. You know, you open up in the locker room. You talk to other guys about stuff going on at home. You open up in the locker room. You tell funny jokes in the locker room. You cuss at each other in the locker room. Sometimes you get into fights in the locker room. It is a sacred place, though, where you don't let it out. I mean, Kevin Garnett, I've talked about it I don't know how many times, and I agree with him because I'm glad, again, verified here. Cell phones don't belong in the locker room. You don't bring that stuff in there, man. We're not clout chasing, bro. This is a place where dudes can be open in themselves and it's a judgment-free zone. And you got every type of personality in the locker room. You got the quiet guy. You got the loudmouth. You got the funny guy. You know, you got the preacher man. You've got the hip-hop head, the country head. You know, you got the tough guy in the locker room. You got the shy guy in the locker room. You got the dude who just wants to get in and out. You know, you've got the team meeting guy in the locker room, the motivator in the locker room. You got all these different personalities, man, and it stays there. Whatever is said and done there, that's where it remains. I don't blame Mike Tomlin. You know, I mean, he brought a new way of saying kind of an old saying, you know, you like sausage, you know, but you don't want to know how it's made, pimpin'. You don't want to know all the ingredients in a pig. You know, the reason why he's successful is because he creates that locker room culture. I mean, that's pretty simple to me. You know, and people could say, well, how successful? Bro, how many Super Bowls has he been to? I mean, he need everybody to stop. A lot more than other coaches, more than, you know. I think he's doing better than Bill Cowher did, and look how long they stuck it out with him. Everybody loved the chin. I'm just saying, these are the things, though, that this is why I love Mike Tomlin. He gets it. It doesn't feel like he ever gets too old or too outdated. You know, it just seems like he knows exactly how to relate to everybody. He treats everybody as individuals and talks to them on an individual basis. He just gets it. And something like a petty game ball, I mean, come on, man. That's just funny. I understand he didn't want anybody to know about it, but to me, that is fucking hilarious. In fact, that might be one of the greatest things I've ever heard. All right, bro, here's your petty game ball. Because Russ got it. And why did Russ get the petty game ball? Because you know he was being petty about Denver. And deservedly so. They fucked him over hard. Why do you think free agency went the way that it did? Stop it. Of course, Bo Nix took that with the Denver Broncos. Nobody was really that interested in him, bro. I hate to break it to everybody. With all the quarterbacks that came out, come on, man, Drake May. Think about this, folks. Okay, let's just settle down here real quick and understand how desperate the Denver Broncos were. Quit it. That petty game ball, even though he didn't play, I guarantee you it was well-deserved. I can only imagine the things that he was saying leading up to that football game. I can only imagine the celebrating he did when he went home. I can imagine what he was telling Sierra. I mean, I'll bet he just walked through that door gleaming, beaming, just... You know what I'm talking about, fellas. You had a really good day at work, even though you ain't really had nothing to do with it. Some really great things happened, and it just got the best of you. Just walking in like da 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 da. I'm in a good mood. No sitting in the car for 30 minutes today. I'm just saying. Get yours, pimpin'. All right, speaking of, I really can't believe this, of all people, came out of Peyton Manning's mouth. He was talking about how he's not a fan of RPOs, which that's okay. He's one of the most athletic guy. I mean, obviously, you know, they've been talking about Arch Manning and all that stuff and how it skipped generations and all this other stuff. But he was just like, oh, it really wasn't a thing in my day. I mean, RPO is pretty much an option play, bro, which I'm 99% sure that's always been a thing. I mean, John Elway was running RPOs with the Denver Broncos. I mean, it was a run-pass option that it got stopped on when they were inside the 5-yard line against the New York Giants in the Super Bowl. Got sacked by tackled by Lawrence Taylor. So I'm a little confused, bro, about. I mean, maybe in the NFL it wasn't necessarily a thing all the time. I mean, at least not a consistent thing. But what do you think they were doing with Mike Vick? What do you think Donovan McNabb was running? Did I miss something? Could have fooled me. Not the traditional style with, sticking the ball out on the RPO look, showing the defense the football, but RPOs all the way. You could disguise them. Just do a little rollout. I mean, come on, man, the veer. That's an option play. I mean, but it all boils down to it, folks. This is the option. It's all a variation of the greatest play ever created in the history of football, the option. It's literally the greatest play ever. And I've said 1,000,001 times, I don't care what formation you run it out of, whether it's wing, pistol, wishbone, diamond formation, which is just the wishbone out of pistol. I don't care what formation you are running it out of. If you run it correctly, it is the most unstoppable play in football. The way that it makes the defense react one way or the other, and then when they get too comfortable and they get brought in, what happens? Right over the top. Like, why would you? I don't. It's really bizarre to hear like the all-time football guru say the words out loud. Really wasn't a thing in my day. I mean, you played college football, didn't you? Didn't you get ran over by Nebraska when they ran the option down your throat? Are you kidding me? Like, seriously? Stop it. I need. Maybe he was joking? I mean, because Peyton Manning has got a really great sense of humor. I mean, if you saw my thing on overrated quarterbacks, you probably hate me a little bit. And that might even be why you're here right now watching. So, hello. But I can't imagine Peyton Manning saying that's not really. I mean, he had to have meant NFL, but even then, I mean, there were still teams that were running it. I mean, Tebow was running it. Cam Newton was running it. I mean, not in the prime of his career, I guess, but even then, like I said, still had McNabb and Vic. I mean, really? I guess it just blew me away. I know somebody's probably telling me that I'm being petty right now. But, I mean, maybe a little bit, but really? No? Yeah. All right. Cool, man. I mean, I guess how we remember things sometimes is how we remember things, man. Mandela effect. It happens to me all the time. That's word. All right, everybody. I am Drew Duncan. We are live. Do not forget that tomorrow on the program, we will have our football insider. I haven't given it a name yet. I need to give it a name. Of course, on Friday, we're going to have our MMA insider, Austin Ford. He is going to be joining us clearly to talk about all things MMA. Boy, a lot of new stuff's been coming out about Sean O'Malley, the surgery. And by the way, for people saying he's making excuses, O'Malley very clearly said, I just felt like I was out-strengthened. Got out-muscled is what he was saying. Felt like he had a good camp. Felt like he was ready to go. He's got to have surgery. He didn't back out of the fight. He didn't make excuses for the loss. Everybody can stop that right now. Obviously, he's going to be talking about John Jones fight in November with Stipe Miocic, which Dana White, boy, he is a genius. Just right there with the Paul Tyson fight. He clearly doesn't think that thing's going to happen. And even if he does, he's testing everybody's balls right now. Still going to go with this fight. Which, by the way, did anybody see them at the Dallas Cowboy game? Man, Tyson looked fed up. He just looked fed up, man. Like, bro, I just can't with this guy anymore. But unfortunately, when I'm not living in La La Land, I hope Tyson's age doesn't catch up to him in a lot of really bad ways. I mean, geez, we just got done talking about Tua and his career. My goodness, can you imagine? All right, everybody, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. The show is Underground Sports. Tell your device to play Underground Sports by Drew Duncan. I'm wherever you're listening to the podcast. I'm on YouTube. I'm on iHeart. iTunes, Apple, wherever you're listening, I am there. Google Underground Sports by Drew Duncan. Download the HHN TV app, a.k.a. the Hip Hop Network. Smart device, iPhone, iPad, smart TV, wherever you are, they are. And, of course, WBFR Radio from 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Block50radio.com is up and live 24/7, 365. Guys, your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.